is gonna take crackerjack timing, Wang.
Total concentration. You ready, Jack?
I was born ready.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. And before I jump into today's subject, I wanted to give my thoughts on the swatting of Alterna Comics founder and publisher Peter Simeti. I'm personally a huge supporter and fan of the Alterna Comics brand and leadership of Peter. Trying to get someone killed over a social media policy is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. There are a lot of people who have contributed to the escalating feud in the comic book community, even myself to a degree, but Peter Simeti is absolutely not one of them. I condemn this action and all the heinous words and actions that have been pointed at Peter Simeti these past few months. It's time we take a breath and de-escalate things before someone gets seriously injured or worse. I stand with Peter Simeti, and to show my support for Alterna and Peter, my guests and I will be doing an Alterna Comics live stream this Saturday at 10 a.m. to talk all things Alterna and recommend our personal favorite series. I hope you join us. With that, let's get to today's subject, something I believe Peter will be very excited about. Executives from Image, IDW, Boom, and Aftershock acknowledging feedback from direct market retailers and implementing change to stabilize the industry and ease financial risk in a down comics market. This is great news, and just what I wanted to hear after reports of Image Comics' no-risk number ones and double-down discount programs. I must give Jim McLaughlin and everyone at ICV2.com kudos for giving voice to the very real concerns of LCS owners and facilitating this new industry revolution. Phil Boyle, the owner-operator of Florida's Coliseum of Comics chain, recently published what he's now calling a manifesto or whatever on a few Facebook groups and also let ICV2 run it in its entirety. I'm going to skip to the important part of this section now. Many entities are afraid to address these issues in a public forum. Representatives from DC Comics, Marvel Comics, and Diamond Comic distributors all declined to speak for the purposes of this article. Most of this video is positive, but it is very disappointing that Marvel, DC, and Diamond all declined to speak on the record. The leadership of these three organizations are a primary reason the industry is in its current predicament. I'm very excited about the changes smaller publishers are implementing, but I'm well aware without the big two publishers and the industry's distribution monopoly being on board, these changes won't be enough. I also believe DC will take actions, but based on past behavior, I don't believe Marvel or Diamond will take any actions to address the needs of retailers. The article continues. The challenges facing the industry and retailers in particular he cited are real. Philip Sablick, president of publishing and marketing at Boom Studios, says, "What I really appreciated about Phil's piece was that he came to the table with solutions, both next steps he was going to take and what he believes publishers can do to help. I may not line up with him 100%, and I imagine that would be true for many other publishers and retailers, but I don't think that was really the purpose of Phil issuing this as a public op-ed. I think he wanted to get solutions-oriented conversation going. From that standpoint, it's working, isn't it?" At IDW Publishing, direct market sales manager Joel Elad took notice of Boyle's piece, as did the rest of the company. "I read it. Everyone in our top management read it, and it was fascinating," Elad said. "Some of it is less realistic from a publisher point of view, some more. One of the ideas I really liked is what he called seed copy. What if retailers hit a certain level, we can reduce the price of extra copies to keep those copies on the shelf. We thought that was very interesting. Now, it's going to our partners in the system and saying, is this doable? What would it take?" This is great. Industry executives with the power to affect change have heard the issues expressed by Phil Boyle and others. While they might not be able to address all his concerns, they are actively working to address some of them. This is the first step to stabilizing the market and to move the publishing practices of the industry in line with direct retailer needs and capabilities. Many of the manifesto's other laments involve product glut. Too many comics to choose from can cause consumer confusion right from the jump, which is compounded by relaunches, new number ones, and variant covers. There are exceptionally more comics we have to keep track of, be aware of, and figure out who they're for, and how many we need or don't need, Joe Field says. With so many publishers in the marketplace these days, what we've done is widen the market, but we've also flattened it. At Image Comics, publisher Eric Stephenson shares many of Field's thoughts. "Generally speaking, I think publishers could be a bit more judicious in our publishing planning," Stephenson said. "The whole industry would benefit from putting a bit more emphasis on quality instead of quantity, and that's a main focus for us in 2019. From speaking to retailers, it's clear many of them are overwhelmed by the amount of content in the marketplace. Few of them have time to read everything that comes out, which makes it tough for them to promote our books to the consumer, who is already having a difficult time keeping up with all the launches. Amen. You will never fix a problem if you can't acknowledge it exists. The market is overflowing with so many titles, only those with previous brand recognition have room to take off. By not planning and pumping out book after book, publishers are all but guaranteeing the failure of most of their new titles and a large portion of established properties as well. Joel Elad of IDW hopes marrying editorial, a new launch, to sales technique, returnability, will help all parties. He cites IDW's Transformers relaunch. The new Transformers book is bi-weekly, and Elad wants to make sure stores aren't ordering blind. Retailers do need to figure out their order levels, he says, so for the first 4 issues, 2 whole months, we're making it fully returnable. That's a way we can help. We're encouraging retailers to stock up on series that we think will generate interest. This is absolutely huge. Image and IDW, the 3rd and 4th largest comic book publishers, are committed to making new releases they have high confidence in returnable during the initial print run. Boom Studios has a similar program that allows participating retailers to return 6 single-issue comics every month with no minimum orders, no strip cover returns, and no risk. This allows retailers to order higher volumes of these titles with the knowledge that if the series is a dud, they can be returned and they won't be stuck with shelves of unsellable stock. These are the kinds of changes that can stabilize the retail market and still allow a measure of growth in the industry. It's a copycat business, and Boyle's happy to see response. IDW pioneered a free 1 in 10 variant cover program for retailers, and now others are grabbing that baton. Aftershock announced to help with the discount level, instead of doing 2 main covers, they'll do a 1 in 10 variant that will be free to retailers and help us with more copies, Boyle said. On the subject of Image Comics' No Risk Number 1's program, Boyle said, "This will allow us to stock up beyond the speculator numbers. If it hits, we can get ongoing readers with number 2, because all the number 1s won't be in the hands of speculators who will have them locked in their china cabinets." And there's a rub. At a time when comics enjoy more mainstream recognition than ever, the trickle down into comic specialty stores, readers, can feel very much like a trickle. Variant cover schemes target retailers with speculative customers to serve and has gotten out of hand. Not only are multiple publishers addressing the variant cover issue, something I personally thought would be off limits, but having returnable early issues will allow retailers to serve both their speculator and reader demographics. This should allow actual readers to get their hands on more series they want and not have to go onto eBay or one of the large online retailers after speculators have scooped up all the available inventory. This will likely have a negative effect on the resale market, but I'm honestly not concerned by that, and seemingly neither are publishers. Welcome to another rub. As Boyle pointed out, the direct market is roughly 46 years old, operating under a similar business model to the one it had when it started, with some nips and tucks. If an old building is teetering, you can't go in and just fix one wall. You have to fix the whole building. I think that's where we're at right now, Boyle says, and he emphasizes one important writer. To be very clear, I'm not blaming Diamond on this, Boyle says. Diamond is the one piece of this puzzle that kind of has a specific set cost and a specific income that they can make. So if everything has to fit in those parameters, I understand that side of it. There are changes that need to be made, but Diamond putting books in boxes is not the problem here. This is one issue I don't necessarily agree with Mr. Boyle on. Diamond has operated as a virtual industry monopoly for decades now, and much of their equipment, facilities, and processes are outdated. Of course, with no competitor to speak of, they have no reason to improve, and it's hard for retailers to say much since they rely so heavily on their Diamond retailer account to acquire product. The sheer amount of late, damaged, and missing product I see reported every Wednesday is pretty shameful, and until someone holds Diamond's feet to the fire and demands a better standard of service, I don't see this changing ever. So there you have it. Publishers Image, IDW, Boom, and Aftershock all acknowledging the concerns of local comic shops and taking actions to address them. Is it enough? Of course not. Until DC, Marvel, or Diamond join in as well, the industry will remain in a vulnerable state, but it is a great start and more than I expected to hear this week. I applaud all 4 publishers for taking action and leading an industry revolution to save the direct market retailer from extinction. I hope I have more exciting news on this evolving story in the days and weeks ahead. Of course, these are just my opinions. What say you? What actions need to happen next? Will DC or Marvel take a leadership role in saving LCSs? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.